this is Bridie with Heart of Heaven, Craniosacral, Subtle Field Energy Therapy, and Heart-Centered Coaching. I'm going to share a few minutes with you today on the subject of cultivating inner peace and calmness because, oh boy, do we need that ever. More than at any time in my life, and I think that's true pretty much for all of us here on planet Earth, our beautiful home. So take a moment, turn off your phone, be present for yourself, for your own healing journey of bringing in some tools to help you cultivate peace and calmness. We're going to set a few intentions first. We'll start off with taking some time just to connect to what is moving for you and what you need right now to support you. Also focusing on an intention for today and for this week if you choose. We're going to follow a guided visualization that I will lead for you, which you can use now, but you can also come back to it and use it at any time. And also just briefly touch on a beautiful aspect of our deep inner heart that we have available to us at all times, but rarely hear about and rarely learn, in Western culture at least, how to contact. And it is such a beautiful tool for helping us get through times of stress. And that is the tool of presence. And then we'll just bring everything to close and you get to move on with your day, having taken some time for peace. So we're going to start as if we were in person, as if we were maybe on a one-to-one call, but we're going to do it through video form. I'm going to ask and invite you to show up for this moment for yourself as if we were talking to each other, but just in silence. If you're in a place where you can do this, just close your eyes for a moment, put your hands to your heart center, the center of the chest. That is the heart chakra, the energy center for the heart. This is a really natural thing that we do when we're stressed or anxious. It is a beautiful way to self-nourish and to come into your heart. And just take a moment, take a few breaths, and tune in to what you need right now. What do you need? What is your heart calling for? And where is that place in you that's really calling out for calmness and peace right now? So let's just take a moment. Take a few breaths and just be present with what is moving in you that is calling you today to come into a deeper relationship with a place of peace that can nourish and sustain you through this time in your journey, this moment, today, right now. So again, let's just take maybe 3 to 5 breaths just to begin to drop in. And in a way, it's kind of like just taking a moment to really admit to ourselves, whoa, actually, yeah, I need to do this. There's a lot going on for me right now. Maybe there's a lot happening in your world. And yeah, you really need perhaps to take this time. And it's beautiful to acknowledge that for yourself. So in looking at cultivating calmness, we could say, why focus on peace and calmness? Well, one obvious is every single thing we do is going to be improved. Our health will be improved. Our relationships will be improved. Our work will be improved if we can ground, center, and be peaceful within ourselves as a starting point. A lot of times we're playing catch up. A lot of times we are coming to the practice of calmness and presence because we're so not there. It's beautiful to first of all take care of ourselves and do that band-aid, that catch it when it's out of control. But also ultimately we want to create a practice that allows us to maintain and touch that place of peace and calmness at any time. So we'll look at, first of all, like an immediate fix, and then we'll also look at some tools over the course of coming classes on how to maintain that for yourself. So just for today, you could rate if you want to. It's actually quite helpful on a scale of 1 to 100, or you could go 1 to 10 if that sounds too spooky. Sometimes if we're really stressed, let's take the numbers down and make them smaller, but on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the top, how stressed or anxious are you feeling at this time in your life generally? Where is it on your scale? With 1 being low, 10 being high, or 1 being low, 100 being high, however you'd like to do that. And remember that number because it's useful as a gauge. Okay, so the world is pretty crazy right now. We know that. There's just stuff going. Even if you avoid the news, it's really hard to avoid the news because there's a lot going on at all times. So where do we go for peace? Well, there's a couple of answers to that. One is immediate, one is long-term. And how can we respond to life with an increasing calmness if our own life is full of challenge and if we have a lot going on right now? There is no one thing that we can add to our lives from outside of ourselves that will bring us lasting peace. Because if there was, we would have done that already. If going for a walk, if taking a jog, if hanging out with friends, if taking a day off, if those things created lasting peace, we would already have that. So we kind of know that we need something that we haven't tried already. And we can bring tools that are very simple in to, like I said, be that band-aid that gets us started, and then look at the deeper tools that actually help us to maintain that so that we find our own center of peace. Well, one thing that is just like a bottom line really helpful to be aware of is that our thoughts and our emotions actually shape our world every moment of the day. So the quality of our thoughts, the quality of our emotions is shaping our outer experience. And that's why I said, seeking to create inner peace and calmness, super valuable because it will improve our work, our relationships, our friendships, and just our general sense of well-being and our health. So one other point I would bring is that, we're in a pretty crazy time right now. So there's more going on than just what's happening in your life. Everything is vibrational. Everything in existence is vibrational. At a scientific subatomic level, everything that is physical and matter, everything that is mental and emotional is vibrational. There are two things happening right now. One is the outer journey of the world, and one is the inner journey within ourselves. And right now, we're kind of like a little radio beacons, all of us. We pick up from what's going on in the subtle realm of the world, whether we realize it or not. So when there's a lot of stress out there, it takes increased effort to maintain peace within our own lives. Even if we're not watching TV, even if we're not reading the news, it is just in the ether. So having these inner practices really helpful. So in essence, it's always true, but it's hugely true right now. We've been watching the storms, haven't we? Crazy, crazy storms recently. And it doesn't matter when you're watching this because this has been true, probably always, but it does feel like they're coming more frequently and bigger in these last years. So one of the beautiful things, when you see the image like we have here of a hurricane seen from space, there is a still point, and it is right at the center of the storm. So when everything around us is in chaos or is moving really fast, there is literally a place within our being, within our consciousness, within our awareness, that is a part of the essence of who we are, that is always available, that is our still point. And we can step into that and become the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is where nothing is moving. It is peaceful. That is a good place to be during a time of crisis or chaos. And where is real peace found? Well, you probably guessed this already. The only lasting source of peace is within us, and it's in all of the great wisdom traditions. If you want to find peace, we have to go within. We have to go within ourselves. If it existed in the world, believe me, we would have found it by now. We've been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So, the journey for ultimate peace and sustainable peace is always going to be a pathway inwards. And in the midst of that, we can also add tools that help us today to put on a Band-Aid and catch our breath and find peace in this moment, and then develop that deeper tool of inner peace. So like the surface of the water, our mind is like this. Now obviously in a storm, it's crazy. It's just wild and rough and crazy. But even when the surface of the water is rippled, or the surface of our thinking is just busy and there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of movement, and the reflections in the rippled mind and the mind that's just very active are not clear. So trying to create clear thinking and peacefulness when we have a lot going on in our mind, not so easy. One thing we can do, tool number one, is notice the quality of our thoughts, notice the speed of our breath and our speech, and slow right down. Because when we can slow the mind, the reflection of that place of peace within us is crystal clear. So when you're taking time for yourself, when you're taking time for self-care, take a few moments, take a few minutes out of your day, ideally, preferably a couple of times a day or throughout the day. You could set an alarm on your phone every hour or every 2 hours, whatever is right for you, every few hours, and literally switch your phone off for a few minutes and breathe. So let's just do that right now. Let's just take a moment and breathe. And again, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just be with yourself. You'll notice that I have slowed down my speech and created more space, because when we are talking at the speed of a freight train, our entire nervous system is moving at that speed as well. That is not peaceful for us. It's okay when we are choosing that functionally, but as an operating system for peace, not so helpful. So let's start off just by giving ourselves permission to slow down. Take a few breaths and close your eyes if you wish. I suggest it because then we actually close out all the information that's usually coming in visually to our central nervous system. So we kind of pull back our energy away from the senses and start to feel the space within you. And let's just begin with taking some really conscious breath. And you might choose a count for your breath that is spacious without being challenging. You don't want to be holding your breath. There's no good reason for holding it to the point of being uncomfortable. Having your in-breath match your holding breath, match your exhalation. So whatever is comfortable for you, just breathe into that count. Hold to the same count. Exhale to the same count. It's like you're breathing a triangle. The point is at the bottom of the breath. So we don't hold the breath at the bottom. We go straight back to the inhalation and just quietly count it or tap it out with your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever your count is. Inhale. Hold to the same count. Exhale to the same count. And at the bottom of the breath, go right back into the inhalation and repeat. And you may start to notice that you have already slowed down. So it's a really simple practice of coming home to ourselves, giving ourselves permission to take a moment and slow down. Watch your breath. Watch the speed of your thinking and your voice. Watch the volume of your voice. Allow everything to come home. So in a way, it's like if you had a fishing reel and you were winding in, reeling in your energy away from the central nervous system, away from the senses, and closing everything down, kind of like we do right before sleep, right? And just come inward very intentionally and get with the breath. Breath is part of the sacred science of consciousness, part of the sacred science of our body, mind, and soul. It is a bridge, quite literally, between consciousness and the physical world. And it is a profound tool. So that's it for today. Live each present moment completely, and the future will take care of itself. Fully enjoy the wonder and beauty of each instant. Practice the presence of peace. And the more you do that, the more you will feel the presence of that power in your life. Warmest blessings and aloha. Namaste.